Okay, all right. So thank you very much and welcome to all of you. I hope all of you are doing fine and staying home and staying safe. So I know this was originally planned as an in-person meeting, and I think because of the lockdown, it's a good initiative taken by Shenzhen to make this online. So welcome, and I'm here to talk to you about unlocking high performance. So I would like to hear from you. Is there anybody in the group who doesn't want high performance? Then you can just type in the chat box saying, no, I don't want. Right. So I hope everybody is here because everybody wants to be a high performer in their domain. So I hope I'm right in assuming that, because we'll see through this talk to see how we can unlock the high performance of everybody. To me, the fact is everybody is a high performer. So it's just that you sometimes don't know your own potential and what exactly you're capable of. So I'm going to take you through this talk to see how you can unlock and unleash what you have within yourself so that you can be a high performer in your domain. So let me start off by telling you a story. It's actually two stories. One is a story about, I'll tell you who, and actually let me take you through the story. So the first story goes like this. She was born in Hyderabad to national level volleyball players, and her elder sister was a national level handball player. And although her family was into sports, she was originally looking at pursuing medicine. However, she was inspired seeing a game of badminton that was played on TV, and she was so impressed with the player that she decided to pursue badminton. And this person, this lady, then went on to bag the Olympic gold medal, silver medal. PV Sindhu is whom I'm talking about. I'm sure most of you would have guessed that. So what actually triggered in Sindhu was she happened to see a game of badminton in which her coach, Pulela Gopichand, was playing, and she just loved the way he played, and therefore decided to choose him as a coach. And then we know the rest of the story, how it falls. And even till date, she trains with Pulela Gopichand. So now probably you're thinking that, you need to aspire to win Olympic medals to be a high performer, right? So, and you've also probably assumed that Sindhu's coach, Pulela Gopichand, is a badminton champion, and that's why Sindhu chose him. Of course, you can't deny that. But Gopichand is a specialist in badminton. Now, does a coach necessarily have to be a specialist? Now, so let me tell you another contradictory story to this. So this is a story about a guy called Anant. Anant is an engineer by profession, and this guy was very, very talented, and he loves and is extremely passionate about music. Now, the talent is not an ordinary talent. This guy can actually produce percussion sounds from within, right? So he can actually play, create the sounds of a mridangam and drum and other things just from within, and he's really good at it. Now, Anand's challenge was, though he had this unique talent, and though he was exceptionally good at what he did, this guy was pretty lazy. He didn't have any motivation. He kept procrastinating. He didn't want to go for classes. He didn't want to, get trained. And the excuse that he was giving himself was he didn't have the time to do it because he was having a full-time job as an engineer. So although he kept going on like this, deep down, he felt pretty disturbed about the fact that, he's got such a good talent and he's not doing anything about it. He's not developing himself, and he was not able to practice and rehearse. So this thought in Anant didn't do any good to him. In fact, it made things a little worse for him because he was feeling pretty upset about the whole thing. And not just that, he felt he had very low self-esteem, and he didn't have the required amount of confidence to go and perform in a stage and in front of audience because he was feeling a little shy to come and exhibit his talent. And to top it up, he had the fear of failure, which a lot of people have, including me, we have fear of failure for many different things. So it was then that Anand happened to see me, and then he wanted me to coach him through this journey. And, he said, I have this special talent, but I don't know what I'm doing about it. I'm not even practicing, and I'm not giving my best. I want to do it, but then, there's something coming up in between, and therefore I'm not giving it my best. I'm not even exhibiting my talent and not even talking to people about it, saying that I have this ability. So I coached Anand for about, I think, 8 months or so. And well, did you think he became an overnight success? Not at all. But what happened was, Anand started moving up on his level of performance. He moved not just up his performance, he started to, and how did he go about improving his performance was he managed to go for classes regularly. He was able to set aside time. He started practicing. He became a lot more self-confident, and he knew how to present himself, and he was really driven to achieving it. Now, how did this happen? Because during our coaching conversation, we went deep down to the root cause analysis to see what was actually coming into Anand's way and why was it that he wasn't able to deliver his very best. So once he was able to get over his challenges, Anand started to fly high. He started giving performances in front of people, and he started getting a lot of appreciation. And end of the day, he felt so good about himself in, achieving what he actually wanted to achieve. So do you think Anand's coach, that's me, do you think I'm a musician? I know zilch about music, and I'm definitely not a musician. So that's when, as a high performance coach, I help people to come out and, I help them overcome their challenges. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because a lot of people think a coach is somebody who's a domain expert, and, like the example we saw of Pulela Gopichand, of course, he's a badminton specialist, and therefore he became Sindhu's coach. But as a coach, I'm a coach from the International Coach Federation, and as a coach, you don't really have to be a domain expert. You have conversations with people and see how you can get them to the next level and make them a high performer in their walk of life. So a coach is not a teacher, a coach is not a mentor, not a counselor, not a consultant, and not necessarily a domain expert. So who's a coach? A coach is someone who partners with you, who provokes your thoughts, inspires you to take action, allows you to reflect, and helps you to get solutions to your challenges. So a coach basically does not advise, but facilitates your development and enhances your awareness level. So let's get to the brass tacks of high performance. So what is high performance, and what do you think is high performance? I'd like to see some answers in the chat box. What do you think is high performance? According to you, there's no right or wrong. So feel free to tell me whatever that pops into your head. Who wants to go first? Delivering 100% is high performance. Thank you, Ajay. Anybody else? Staying on top of your game. Very good, Amita. Delivering the actions in the best way. Scaling up. Yes. Pretty much right, all of you are. So if I were to give this a definition, what is high performance? It is simply that achieving superior results by performing at a high standard and as per set targets. Now, what are these set targets? Normally, it's the targets that you want to set yourself. But of course, in an organization, if you're working, it could be the targets set by your boss, because they want you to achieve and deliver certain things. So end of the day, high performance is when you're achieving superior results by performing at a high standard as per whatever are the set targets. So it's basically to create the next higher version of your own self. And what is required to get the high performance? Your desire, just your desire to strive, to make yourself better, and the keenness of your intent to give your best in whatever that you want to achieve. So if you notice in the example of Anand that I gave you, he had a very keen desire to pursue his talent, and the superior results he obtained by performing at a high standard was to give a performance where he was able to showcase his talent to a large number of audience, and this made him feel good within himself. So the target he had set for himself was to give a performance to the audience so that he could get acknowledged and appreciated for his talent. And since that was his end goal, how did he go about it? He started attending classes regularly and also started to practice very regularly and ensure that he was on top of the game, like one of you exactly mentioned. So for achieving high performance, it's not necessary that you have to sit and compete with others, but all you do is to compete with your own self so that you get better at what you're doing and you achieve better results than before. So high performance is a journey by itself and not just a destination. So because by comparing yourself with others, it's just going to drain your energy. And whereas if you start competing with your own self, you just tend to become better and an improvised version, the next version of your own self. So if required, you can see, set role models for yourself, and you can seek inspiration and just see how you can strive to get better at what you're doing. So I'm going to take you through the 5 wives and the 1 husband. So do you know what they are? The 5 wives and the 1 husband? In the chat, can I see? Staying engaged. Okay, let me give it to you. So the 5 wives are the what, why, who, where, and the 1 husband is the how. So that's what this talk is going to be about, and I'm going to take you through that. So we just saw what is high performance. So now let's see who is a high performer. So any individual or any organization that achieves results efficiently and consistently, and thereby improving their performance levels, is tend to becoming a high performer. So again, going back to Anand's example, Anand improved his performance notches up, and he was very consistent in his practice, and it got him the special recognition that he wanted from not just the normal people, but some of the renowned musicians as well started appreciating and acknowledging for the talent and the creative ability that he had within himself, which made him feel on the top of the world. So where do you want high performance? So it can be an area of your choice, an area where you want to improve your performance, an area that's probably of interest to you, or it basically can be anything of your choice. So if you want to be a high performer, you need to take your pick. What is your specialization? Which is the domain that you want to be known for as an individual? You will have to take these conscious decisions. So the idea here is just to make you think and reflect that you can choose what is the best and ideal for you. So in Anand's case, again, he had the required clarity, and he wanted to focus on the special talent that he had so that he could give a stellar performance to the audience, and he could work his way up from there. So when do you want high performance? Whenever you think you need to pull yourself up, when you want to feel good about your own achievements, you want to feel satisfied, and you want to have a sense of accomplishment about your own self, to be on top of the charts, or basically if you want to be a leader in your domain, then you can strive for high performance. So again, in Anand's case, he realized that by doing this, by striving for high performance, he could of course get fame and carve a niche for himself in his domain, which is the music and doing an a cappella basically. And of course, if he was able to continue well and do well, it could also yield him monetary benefits, and he could even start performing at concerts. So like you notice, having these monetary benefits becomes a byproduct. So your main objective is just to strive and give your best in whatever area of your choice, whatever you're passionate about, whatever you think you're good at, or you think that you can become even better at. So identify those areas and start working on it so that you become high performer and your name becomes synonymous with that particular domain. Right? So we saw what is high performance, why high performance. So I don't know if I covered why high performance, because basically high performance is when you have a vision, when you have a goal that you want to achieve for your own self, so that you can keep moving ahead in every walk of life. So you can have short-term goals, you can have long-term goals, and see how you can ace yourself in each of these. So now comes the big question, the how of high performance. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips to see how you can actually go about maximizing your own potential, to see how you can get high performance. So the important thing is to channelize yourself, and ensure that you're headed in the right direction so that it becomes easy for you to achieve high performance. So let me start off with another story here. So there was a king, and this king had gone hunting to a forest. So towards the end of the day, he wanted to get back to his kingdom, and then he realized it was pretty dark already, and he had kind of lost his way. He had drifted away from the team of soldiers who were there with him. The king was kind of lost, and he was wondering how to get out because the sun was, going to set in a few hours. So just as he was meandering his way through the forest and wondering how he could get out, he saw a guy who was sitting there. So he went and asked the guy, could you please take me out of this forest? This guy said, yeah, no problem. I live in the village close by, so I'm happy to take you out of the forest. So he takes him through the forest and brings him back to the village. And from there, of course, the king knew how to go. The king was extremely happy with this man because he helped him lead his way out. So the king asked him, I'm really happy with you. So what do you do actually? So he said, oh, actually, I'm just searching for a job. I'm actually very good in what I do. But, the people in the village don't like me. They're all jealous of me. And therefore, they go around telling everybody and, bad-mouthing me and saying that I'm very lazy. And because of that, nobody wants to give me a job. So the king felt pretty sorry for him. And then king told him, tomorrow morning, just come over to my palace and I'm going to give you some gold coins. And then, you can see how you want to go about doing it. So this guy is very happy. He's very thrilled because, for him, like he never even expected this. And it was like a godsend thing that was coming in his way. So he was mighty excited. And then he tells the king, I'll come tomorrow. So king tells him, ensure you come tomorrow itself and pick it up before I change my mind. So this guy is very happy. He goes back home. He tells his wife. The wife is also mighty thrilled. And they both start celebrating. So the next day morning, the wife wakes him up in the morning. She says, get up fast. You have to go to the palace and you have to collect your gold coins. So this man says, yeah, let me get up. I'm actually a little tired now. The whole day is there. So why are you rushing me up? Let me wake up. Just give me some more couple of hours. Let me, sleep well. So after a couple of hours, she wakes him up, and then so this guy slowly gets out of bed, and then he says, this is such a good day. We're going to become rich because all of us have enough money. So, why don't you cook my favorite meal for me today? I would love to eat, the item that you cook so well. So the wife goes about, she makes the food that he wants. So this guy enjoys and relishes his meal, and then slowly, then he was just deciding, okay, fine, let me go to the palace, and he starts to get ready. And just as he was stepping out of his house, he tells his wife, it's just too hot right now. I don't think I need to go and walk in the sun. Let me just take some rest, and once the sun gets a little better, let me go out to the palace thereafter. So the wife says, okay. So he comes back home, he decides to nap again, and then the wife is after him. So the wife then wakes him up after he finishes. By the time his nap could finish. And then this guy, okay, finally, because the wife kept pushing him so much, he said, okay, fine. And then he starts to go. And just as he would have walked a few meters, he sees some neighbors, some friends. He gets into a chat with everybody. He starts to brag that, he's going to become a rich man. The king is invited him to the palace. He's going to get a lot of gold coins. And it goes on. So then they tell him, okay, come, let's, why don't you have tea in my house? Because, you're going to become a rich guy tomorrow. You shouldn't forget me. So come, people start offering him tea and snacks. This guy's mighty thrilled. And by the time he actually could reach the palace, the king was annoyed with him. The king said, no, the guards didn't let him, and he had lost his opportunity. So an opportunity that was so good for him that would have actually transformed his life, he just missed it in a jiffy. And why do you think this happened? Because he didn't have a clear purpose in his head. So I see one of the key ingredients for high performance is purposefulness. Like Simon Sinek says, start with why. Why is it you want to achieve high performance in your particular domain? Right? So what is it that's actually coming in your way? And is it you're doing it for your own self, or is it just to impress others, or is it under peer pressure? What is your driving factor? Why do you want to achieve high performance? Or are you just happy with the way you are, just at average, and you don't want to go the extra mile? If that's the case, that's fine as well. There's nothing wrong or right, because it's your life and it's your choice at the end of the day. So you only have to be aware of what is happening within you. What is it that you really want to achieve? And mind you, what you're achieving is for your own self. It's not that you want to achieve for somebody else or just to impress people around you. So you need to know why you want to achieve high performance. So again, let me tell you a real life story. This is about a lady that I coached. She was one of the youngest, VP, vice president in the organization. It's a global organization, and she was one of the youngest, and she was one of the high performers, identified by the organization. So this girl so driven. I mean, I was so impressed coaching her because she clearly knew what exactly she wanted to achieve and why she wanted to achieve. So she had set herself specific goals on, how to go about achieving it. So everything was going fine in her life, but one particular, and she was very young. So just that's what happened was, since it's a large multinational, there was an M&A that was happening. That's a merger and acquisition. So her company was merging with another big multinational. And so she became unsure of, what her roles would be going forward, and, who she would have to report to, and, how she should go about, because till then she had kind of planned everything for her career. And that point in time, she wasn't really sure. So she was in a big dilemma, and all her thoughts and energy was spent on just thinking what would be the consequences of this merger, and what would actually happen to her career. Because what she had done is she had very carefully and very beautifully carved the path ahead for her. She's a finance professional, and her story was like this. She was, from her school, she was very keen to pursue medicine. And unfortunately for her, she missed the cutoff by a very minor point, I don't know, 0.5% or something like that. And she was very upset. And though her family said, probably we will, pay some capitation fee and get you into the medical college, she wasn't keen. And she said, no, I don't want to, because I want to get it in out of my own merit. And I don't want to pay any amount as capitation fee. So then she thought over and decided what she wanted to do, and she decided she'd take up finance, and she started training for her finance courses. She aced in them. She was, I think, a ranker or something in the professional courses, and she did very well. So as soon as she qualified through campus placement, she got into this multinational, and she started doing exceptionally well. So as we looked through her past, what she was telling me was she had chalked her career path extremely well. She knew what exactly she wanted to achieve, what should be her next moves, with which boss she needed to work, which department within finance she had to work. So she had clearly drafted it. And not just that, she had started to build her network within the organization, both locally, nationally, and internationally. So she had got herself a set of mentors who could guide her through and see, tell her what would be the best thing in her journey. And then she, of course, had me as a coach, and she used to bounce off all her thoughts and clarifications from me, and, take my guidance there. So as she was going about this, at the time that when we had this particular conversation, she was already one of the youngest in the organizations, and she had set herself clear goals. So she said, my next jump should be at a national level role, and thereafter I want to head the Asia Pacific, and thereafter get into the headquarters. Now, this was the plan she had charted for herself. So at every stage, whenever there was a promotion that even used to come into her way, she used to take calculated decisions. Like, her questions used to be simple. Now, if I take a promotion just because it was coming my way, will it take me closer to the next level? Now, her next level was, ultimately, like I said, to get into the national level, and then APAC, and then the global level. So she used to calculate each of her moves and see what was best. So sometimes she told me that she had even deferred some promotions because she felt that was not the best to take her closer. So she would rather wait for another 6 months to get herself promoted. So she used to be very calculative, very purpose-driven, and very focused on her goals. But the time when we had, this was her past, the time when we had met, what was lacking there, because she felt very stagnant, more at an emotional level, as well as, in reality, which was affecting her performance. So when we spoke about it, she realized what was actually coming in her way was, all these negative thoughts, in the sense, her uncertainty and her fear, and she didn't know how to go about whether the new organization with whom they were merging, whether they would accept her for what she was, good at. And she had all these fears. And as a result, she had lost focus on her goals. She forgot what her purpose was, and she was just getting carried away by all the drama and the politics that was happening within the organization. So, my friends, what I want to tell you here and drive the message is, have your purpose very clear. Set yourself goals and ensure you're focusing on the goals that will take you ahead, so that you can be purpose driven and achieve what you want to achieve. So the first key here is purposefulness. So remember your purpose and see what best you need to do, and most importantly, take actions on them. That was the first thing. So the second one that I want to tell you is, again, let me tell you a little story here. So there was okay, yeah, sorry, I'm just seeing the chat right now. Okay, yeah, Neha was right. What, where, why, when, and how. That's right. Yes, Neha, thank you. Right. So the second thing that I want to talk to you about, yeah, let me start off with the story. So there was this a rich merchant in a village, and he was very rich. He was doing exceptionally well, and he felt there was something lacking in his life. And what was lacking in his life, he felt, was he wanted to become an enlightened soul. So just as he was wondering how he could get enlightened, somebody from his village said that there was a saint who's come to the village, and the saint is capable of bestowing anybody and everybody with whatever were their wishes. So this man rushes to the saint and tells him, "Oh saint, I believe you have the ability to bless everybody on all their desires and wishes. I'm very rich, all that is fine, but all I'm seeking now is enlightenment. So can you please bless me to say that I will be enlightened soul?" So the sage looks at him, "Oh, is that all you want? No worries. I'm ready to give you enlightenment now." So this man is mighty thrilled, and then he says, "Oh, tell me, how can I get enlightened?" So the sage says, "Do you see that hill there across the road?" He says, "Yes." He says, "Just go on, climb the hill, go on top of it, and sit and meditate there for 1 hour, and then you're going to become enlightened." So this man is super duper thrilled, and he says, "Okay, fine. Thank you so much. I'm going right away." And he just starts to rush out of the room. Then the sage calls him and he says, "Oh, I forgot to tell you one little thing." So he says, "What is it?" He says, "Go and meditate, but when you're meditating, don't think about a red monkey with a blue tail." Because he said, if you think about the red monkey with the blue tail, then your enlightenment will not come true. So just ensure you don't think about this alone. So when the man goes up and he starts to meditate, guess what he thinks about? Only thing that comes to his mind is a red monkey with a blue tail. So that's how our minds function. Especially when we are told not to do something, our mind can be our best friend and our worst enemy as well. So it's up to us to see how well we are able to control the monkey within us. So the reason again here I'm saying is, the second ingredient for high performance is focus, right? You need to be really focused on what you want to achieve, because focus is what will help you achieve what you want to achieve. There's a beautiful book. It's called The Inner Game of Tennis. I don't know how many of you have read it. It talks about a beautiful concept of S1 and S2, that is self 1 and self 2. So, each of us, like I said, each of us are a high performer. And why is it we are a high performer? Because we have the potential within us to achieve what we want to achieve. So despite having that, the self 1 and self 2. So every time the self 1 wants to achieve something, there is interference from the self 2. And the self 2 is nothing but the chatter in your mind, the mind chatter. Every time you're trying to focus and concentrate and achieve your very best, the mind is chattering behind you, and thereby it doesn't allow you to perform at your very best. So he's given a beautiful formula as well. The performance is the difference between your potential and your interference. So you have a certain potential, you have a certain ability and a capability to achieve something, but then what is coming in your way? It's the interference from your own mind. You're not able to focus, you're not able to achieve and deliver what you want to achieve. So you'll have to figure out a way to see how you can focus yourself, keep your mind centered, and achieve. So I would also say, if you want to take short breaks in between, while it's difficult for anybody to focus on a long-term basis. So let's say you want to do your work in a focused manner, let's say for 30 minutes, and then take a 10-minute break. So, or whatever cycle, I'm just giving you an example to see how relevant it is for you to stay focused, or probably do meditation, whatever works for you. Like I'm into art of living. I've been into art of living for now about 15 years, and it's helped me. It's been a game changer in my life. Simple breathing exercises, and I follow it up with some amount of meditation. In fact, if any of you are into meditation these days, because of the lockdown, there is twice a day free meditation, once at 12 noon and another time at 7:30. It's very, very helpful and beneficial. So whatever works. I mean, this is just an example. I'm sharing with you what has worked well for me. So you'll have to just see what is your sweet spot on how well you can remain focused, so that you're able to, get over the interference that you have from your mind. So again, let me tell you a real life example. This is with another person whom I coached. Let's say her name is Uma. Now, Uma was exceptionally good. She was a highly intelligent student. She was shining very well. And unfortunately, the family was not very well to do at that point in time. They had some mishaps and therefore their fortunes kind of dropped. So Uma started working, and as she was working, she realized she wanted to do well in her career as well. And Uma is somebody who's extremely passionate about women. And when I say women, especially the girl child, because she feels, the girl children, especially from the poverty driven lives, she wanted to enhance and educate them so that the best in them comes out, and each girl child can then become a star in her life at a later point. So she used to take like home tuitions, and she used to go out of her way to help especially the kids, give them career guidance and stuff like that, whatever she could. So she was extremely passionate about that. So she also realized, since she had the ability and capability, she was, as she was wondering what is it that she needs to do in her career, she realized it will be ideal for her to become an IAS officer because she had the talent, ability, the drive, everything. So she went and enrolled herself for the IAS classes. And just when she was kind of getting started, there was a lot of pressure from her family to get married. Her family was very conservative and quite orthodox as well. Now, Uma, fortunately or unfortunately for her family, she was going around with somebody else who was not from her religion, not from her caste. And therefore, the family was totally against Uma, and they wanted to marry her off to somebody else from their own caste. So Uma was in a fix, she was in a crossroad, and she was emotionally upset, emotionally drained and fatigued because of this. And though every time she thought that, she must study and get into her IAS, the thoughts at home, the situation at home, the way her folks used to speak to her was just draining her out. And she didn't know what to do. Her thing was she was not able to focus at all. So that's when she came to me and we had a coaching conversation. And as we conversed, what transpired to Uma was the reason why she was not able to focus was, of course, one side, she had told her family that, she will not get married to anybody else but for the person with whom she was going around. And of course, the family didn't agree to her. But what had actually come in Uma's way was, deep down in her subconscious mind, she was worried. And worried about what? Not just her family. She was worried that the person with whom she was going around might just leave her because she was just delaying and postponing their marriage. Her parents were not agreeing to it. So deep down, she realized that she didn't have enough trust on her boyfriend. And that is why she was getting angry and irritated about anything and everything. And the best in her performance wasn't coming up. Because every time she was taking her books out, she was telling me that, she would read probably 1 or 2 pages, and then thereafter she would just get lost in all her thoughts, either, with her family saying all this, or on the other hand, the concern and the worry that her boyfriend might desert her. And, her family also kept saying that, probably he would he'd get married to you and then ditch you at a later date. So all these thoughts were eating her head up. And as a result, she just couldn't focus. And though she knew her ultimate goal was to become an IAS officer, this was something that was coming in her path, and it was interfering with her, and the best in her was not able to come out. So after the coaching conversation, Uma stuck on to her promise to her own self to state that, while she's studying, she's going to put aside all these thoughts and focus only on what she's meant to do at that point in time. So it's important for you to be in the present moment. If you're doing something right now, just stick to it. And then she said, no, I will ensure that, I worry about all this once I'm done with my studies for the particular day. Because if I don't study and prepare, I know the best in me is not going to come out, and I may not be able to get through my IAS exams. So that's how she was focused, by getting to her root cause to see what was actually coming in her way so that she could achieve her very best in her exam performance. So my friends, the second key ingredient is focus. The first, purposefulness, and the second is focus. The third one, again, let me tell you a real life story. This was with another person whom I was coaching. So this person used to be a top performer in his organization where he was working. He was a techie, and this was a few years ago. And unfortunately, for the last I think almost about 2 years, he didn't have a job because he had got sacked. He had failed to upskill himself, and the technology that he was working on had become outdated. And excuse me, and he wasn't able to go around and get himself another suitable job. Either he felt that it was underpaid, or he was always coming up with excuses and talents to say reasons to say that this is not the right choice. And of course, age was also not supporting him, and he hadn't grown in his career after a point in time. Though he had started off very well in his career, after a point he had stagnated, and now he was without a job. He was living off his wife's income, which was again kind of bothering him too much. And every time he would say, let me apply for a job or do something, he was just getting stuck every time. He wasn't happy about it, and there were just too many issues that were eating up his head. But the thing was, he wasn't taking any action. Now, even for him to go back to an organization, though a couple of his friends had referred him to a few organizations, he realized he would have to report to people who were junior to him, by his age, or they were his former colleagues, or they were his juniors who were working below him. And this guy was like, no, why should I go and report to them? Which is fine. I mean, each one of us have our own preferences. So, but this was his thought. And the thing was, he didn't want to step out of his comfort zone, because he didn't know what he wanted to do and how he would go about achieving. He wanted a job, but then he had so many of these constraints that he didn't want to step out of those things. Now, that was fine. If you have set of constraints, now, which is the other door that can open for you? So during our coaching conversation, went on, we had a couple of rounds of conversation to see what was the reason that he was getting stuck. So he was ruling out, he said, yeah, deep down, like I said, he didn't want to work with certain people because of age, his ego, and so on and so forth, many issues. So he was ruling out all of that. So that led, so that made me ask, sorry, I think somebody has typed in the chat, inner game of tennis. Yes, that's right. Yeah, so somebody had asked him the question, not somebody, sorry, I asked him the question, okay, you don't want to go and work, so what else would interest you? What are your areas of interest? What is it that fascinates you? So this guy seemed to have a love for two things. One was maths. He said, I'm very good at maths, and I actually have been a topper in my college days, and I'm really fascinated by maths. Even now, though I don't have a job, I love solving maths problems, and I either take up online quizzes, or, if some of the children nearby come and have any doubts or questions in maths, I'm more than happy to help them. So he said, one was math. And I said, what else? Is there anything else that is fascinating and interesting to you? So the second thing he said was spirituality. So when he said spirituality, I started digging further, and I said, what exactly in spirituality? So he said, I know a lot of the slokas, the mantras, I know them with their meanings, and I every day I ensure I chant all of these. And he said, I've actually started doing this more for my own purpose, because right now I don't have a job and I'm desperate to get a job. So I started learning all these slokas, and then I've been chanting, and since I'm bored, I didn't know what they meant. I have actually Googled, and I found out the meaning of all these slokas. So I told him, I said, great, so you have these two interests. So how would it be if you were to convert this as a source of revenue for yourself? So that set him thinking. So what he did was he started conducting maths tuition classes for children. And he also started over the weekends, he started teaching people the slokas, the mantras with their meanings. And he slowly started making these two as a revenue stream for him. So it was that originally, though he was stuck within the ambit of his comfort zone, he finally then decided to step out of his comfort zone, right? So when he stepped out of his comfort zone, magic happens. So they say magic happens when you step out of your comfort zone. And this is what this person did. So, each of us have certain restrictions. Like in his example, he didn't want to go and work with certain people. So that was not within his comfort, and he didn't want to touch that area. So if you don't want to touch certain areas, that is fine. But look out for avenues that will open up further doors for you, right? So the important thing I say here is discipline. This is the third key. What is discipline? It's bliss plus discipline. So something that you do that gives you the bliss. Like in his example, he was very fond of math. He was very fond of chanting. Both of this was giving him bliss. And then he made it as a discipline. The discipline was, of course, not only did he learn, but he was also teaching others. So he became a math teacher and a sloka teacher. So this is how you develop yourself, so that you can step out of your comfort zone and you can become a high performer in an area of your choice. Let me again give you my own example here on the comfort zone. Like Ankita mentioned, I'm an author and I had no intentions of becoming an author in my life. A family vacation to Cambodia was what changed my perspective. I had been to the killing fields in Phnom Penh, the capital, and it's barbaric, gruesome stories. There was a mass genocide that happened there from 1970 to 74. Innocent people were killed and butchered. And when I went there, just something happened. It triggered in me, and a thought came to me that said, "What happens if man is so cruel?" And based on that, I came up with my spiritual thriller. It's called A Glance at the Unknown. Now, when I was going to write it, or rather before I wrote it, I had a lot of phobia in me. And I was like, I'm not a writer, I'm not an author. Who's going to read it? What are people going to say? And I had all these kinds of thoughts running around in my head. And even when I launched the book, I had a lot of butterflies in my stomach. And I was even wondering, should I even launch it? But I launched the book did well. And then it even got me an award of one of the 100 inspiring authors of India. Why am I telling you this? Because had I not stepped out of my comfort zone, this wouldn't have happened. I'll give you another tip as well to step out of comfort zone. If you can't step out of your comfort zone, expand your comfort zone. Because here again, what I did, once I started telling people I'm an author and I've written a book, everybody assumed it was a finance book because I'm a finance professional with about 25 years of corporate experience. So everybody was like, so where's the finance book? So when are you going to come out with a finance book? And therefore I had to come out with my finance book. It's called WTF, What the Finance? And it's a national bestseller. So if I had not stepped out of my comfort zone, or if I had not extended my comfort zone, you're not going to progress. So you'll just have to see what measures you can take, how best you can step out of your comfort zone and achieve. I mean, it's okay. There is this fear of failure that everybody has. Like I mentioned in the beginning, even I had the fear of failure. But it's okay. Just put it aside and see what best you can do. Just try. There's nothing wrong in trying. If you succeed, great. If you don't, it's fine. You can always try again. But the point is, you will have to step out of your comfort zone. So that is the most important thing, my friend, because if you want magic to happen, if you want to be a high performer, just ensure you step out of comfort zone, or like I said, expand your comfort zone. So these are the 3 main tips that I wanted to share with you. It'll be good if somebody can just put out in the chat on what the 3 main tips are, so that the people who joined in late can also be benefited by them. I would like to see the 3 tips that I spoke to you about. Can I get some responses? Purposefulness, very good, Amita. Yeah. Focus, excellent, Mamta and Amrita. Third, discipline, yes, discipline. DLISSCIPLINE. That's what I say. It's discipline. Fantastic. So good. You guys are with great audience and I think listening very well. 3 main tips: purposefulness, focus, and stepping out of comfort zone. Absolutely. Bang on, bang on. Very good. So I'm open to Q&A. So anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them for you.
Sangeeta, first of all, it was just so amazing. Like I kept looking in, I want to hear more. And when I looked at the time, okay, we actually have spent more than 40 minutes into this entire session. Right. So it was so amazing. And I personally found so many aha moments that, I heard you say, oh yeah, okay, I get stuck here in between, I need to focus more on stuff like this. So it was extremely insightful. And guys, we are open for questions. If anyone has any questions, we can go ahead and...
Yes, I think Kanaya Lal has asked, how can you practically increase collective performance in a group or a team where the effort and commitment levels are not the same by everyone? Definitely, it is a challenge. I would acknowledge there, I'm with you there. But what you can do is 2 things. One is, the team is only as strong as the weakest person. So you will have to ensure that everybody in the team is at the same level of performance. Of course, it is more easy in theory than in practice. So ensure if that is possible in your organization. If not, you'll have to step out and join into another team. Or if you're the leader of the team, you'll have to lead by example. You'll have to see and clearly state and communicate to the teams what exactly is expected from each of them, right? So that is what is important. So, and you'll also have to acknowledge that not everybody is at the same level, because each one of us are differently made. Each one of us have different purpose. Each one of us have our own strengths and weakness. So as a team, they say team is together, everyone achieves more. So the good way would be for you to capitalize on each individual strength. Like some may be good at a particular task, the others may not be as good, but they may have bring some other task with them. So just to see how best you can leverage on each one's task so that as a team, you're able to win. Kuldeep, what are the ways to improve concentration? Yes, so like I said, what works for me is meditation. I'm into art of living, so that works very well. But each one of you, you'll have to figure out what is your sweet spot. So maybe like, for example, things like taking a power nap or a power distraction. Just to say like, okay, I have focused now, I've done something for 30 minutes. Now let me take a 10-minute break. Maybe I will go on social media or maybe I'll watch TV. I mean, whatever works well for you, but you'll have to figure out what is it that is working for you. Like I have figured out for me, it's meditation. So you'll have to just figure out, because as I said, each one will be different. Each one will have their own tastes and preferences. So it shouldn't be something that's imposing on you, because then you will lose the charm of it, right? So it should be something that comes naturally for you, and maybe read a book, or if you have any hobbies, pursue your hobbies. So anything to balance out, because otherwise once you get stressed, the best in you is not going to come out. Ajay, ma'am, your contact details, you can contact me on LinkedIn, or my website is www.sss.coach. My social media handles are Sang Shah Sum, SANG SHASUM. In fact, I have a YouTube channel where I keep posting videos on both finance mantras as well as high performance. So feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's the abbreviation of my name, Sang Shah Sum, SANG space SHASUM. And how is your coach pattern or structure? Do you have any organization or individual coach basis? So I work on my own. I call myself as a business coach because I coach both businesses and the leaders and the teams of businesses. Like most of the examples I gave you are my real life coaching examples. So basically to help people to come out and achieve their best, and each of them to be high performers. So I do it for organizations, I do it for individuals. Yeah, so some of the details you can find in my website, or you can ping me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is Sangeeta Sumesh, Sangeeta Shankaran Sumesh. You can find me on LinkedIn, and then I'm happy to connect with people there. Any other questions, folks?
Looks like Lavanya want to ask a question, so I just unmuted her. Lavanya, you can ask question.
Yeah, it was really beautiful the way you took us over the complete session, with your storytelling way, with your own experiences and all that. And it is really inspiring, how you had you have moved out of your comfort zone when you had started writing the books, moved out into your non-financial. You basically come from a financial background, but you had written a book outside those lines. So can you add few more can you highlight more, like what exactly triggered you to write a book apart from a financial? Because since you're more of a domain expert in finance.
Yeah. So as I said, it was purely my trip to Cambodia. So because even now, this genocide that I told you was between 1970 to 74. And even now when you go and you walk in the killing fields, you'll find pieces of bones and nails. There was a huge tower filled with skulls, and, it really did something to me. So I think this was in 2015 March that I had been there. And unknowingly, I had weaved a story in my head to say that, what happens if man becomes so cruel? And this story kept coming back and forth to me. And then when I thought I should write about it, I was like, the usual, the fear of failure. And then I'm like, who's going to read my book, or what will people say? I had all these negative thoughts, and I had just pushed it aside. And then I think in December of 2015, I just said, okay, let me just try. I mean, maybe not for anybody else, but let me write for my own purpose. So I just started writing because I find time only over weekends because I was working. And so I started writing over weekends. And then I think I would have written for 4 or 5 weekends, or 4 or 5 chapters. Basically, I hadn't done progress much. And then I was busy. And then all these excuses that I was giving myself, I had put it aside. In November 2016, was when I chanced upon a 100-day book authoring challenge. So, people in corporate, we are so used to challenges and deadlines. So I said, okay, as soon as I saw it, I realized, I said, okay, at least this will help me towards completion. Whether I publish the book or not is different. So let me just go ahead and write it. So the 100-day book authoring challenge helped me. And then in March of 2017, my book was launched by Tai and a few other authors. We were all part of the 100-day book authoring challenge. So that's why I said, see, when I had this 100-day challenge, it was a goal that I had set for myself. So not that anything was different between, when I had started writing on my own and and then when I started writing, now I knew I had a goal, I had a purpose, and I knew I had to focus on it to complete. So you see how well all the three come into place. So it was my purposefulness, it was the way I had to focus, and I had to step out of my comfort zone. So this is exactly what I say, that, if all these three are in sync, then you can come out. And by the way, folks, I'm telling all of you, just within this group, I've started writing my third book is a free audio book. It's on Audible. It's called The Power of High Performance Coaching. So do download, you can hear it. And I'm coming up with my next book that is exclusively on high performance. I've just started writing it in this lockdown, so it's going to take a little more time. But once it's out, I'll probably tell Murli, and Murli can share it with all of you. And it's going to be a lot more elaborated. Yes, Neha, I see any tips for goal setting. So I'm going to give you tips, some tools, and a few other areas as well into the new book that I'm writing. So watch out for it, and when it comes, do read it and let me know. Absolutely inspiring, Sangeeta. Thank you very much for sharing these stories from your life. Thank you, Sonam. Pleasure to meet you as well.
Thank you, guys. So I think we have very less time left. So what we are going to do is, if you want to connect with her, you already know she is available through her site and her LinkedIn profile. You can obviously get in touch with her. I'm sure she'll be more than happy to connect with you on a personal level as well. Having said that, Sangeeta, thank you so much for today's session. It was really inspiring, and really, I'm sure all of us have something to think over during this weekend now. So thank you so much for that. Guys, thank you so much for joining today's session. And just to give you a background, we are coming up with a couple of more sessions from next week onwards. The next session is going to be on Wednesday by Ranjana Sagar, and she's going to speak about career planning and how women can plan their career at different stages. So please come and attend that session as well. Thank you so much again. Thank you, Sangeeta. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ankita, Lavanya, Meghna, Ajoy, and Shivani. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Murli. Right. See you. Bye.